Hi guys, welcome back. So Scotland 11, England 6 at Twickenham. Brilliant victory, and do you know what? Scotland were by far the better team. They deserved it. And what made this even better is they didn't just hang on in there. They didn't just nick it. They were dominant all the way through, and they were dominant in all the areas where England have been good in the past. Scrum, line out, kick chase, tactical kicking, you name it, Scotland were better. And player for player, there's not many England players who take over the Scottish counterparts. Probably Itoje's the one guy who came out positive for England as normal, but you know, Scotland players pretty much to a man had a great performance. But anyway, let's go through this game. And actually at the end of this game, I just want to say, obviously I'm an England fan, but I didn't want England to win this because they didn't deserve it. And if they had won it, it would have papered over so many cracks. So deserved to lose, Scotland deserved to win. Scottish fans, let me know what you think of that win. I just think it was just a brilliant performance. Anyway, game starts off and Itoje actually gets straight into the game, putting pressure on Price, as he actually did throughout that first half, and really got him rattled at one point as well. But then the penalties start coming, and England's penalty count was awful. They were slow, they were clunky, they were slow to get in position, and Scotland was so match sharp. They kept winning penalties off England. England gave a few away. I think we had 2 penalties in a row. Scotland get a line out straight away in a good position. Then another penalty. It goes 3-0 to Scotland, nice and quick. And you're starting to think, well, hang on, there's a difference in pace of the game here. Scotland look right on this. Scotland's line-out looked good throughout the game. Turner's throwing was brilliant, I must say, absolutely fantastic. Scotland stole some line-outs as well off England in important times. So line-out, massive tick for Scotland. But yeah, Itoje gets all over Price and actually charges down 2 kicks, which if the ball had bounced differently or if support had got to him sooner, that could have actually changed that first half if England had got a score there. But you know, just relying on one guy making these amazing plays isn't going to really get England anywhere in this tournament. But anyway, fair play Itoje. England attacked once really well at the beginning of the half and then once at the end of the half, and that was it. I actually quite like the options that England had off their runners. They looked like they were clearly working on their attack. They just didn't get any ball because Scotland were all over them. So England's attack, at times the shape looked okay. I thought Young's actually looked fairly sharp. We'll talk about Farrell later. But anyway, Redpath makes an early break from deep within 10 metres, which was really impressive. Redpath had a really good game. He wins a penalty. And then it's fairly even both sides, about 15 minutes in. They both waste fairly good attacking positions. You know, it's looking like, well, how's this game going to go? But Turner's throwing again was spot on. Russell was grubbering the ball in behind, which was causing England's back three all sorts of problems. And England's back three, let's face it, were completely ineffectual compared to Hogg, Van der Merwe. Maitland made a good break as well. So, you know, completely outplayed back three stakes as well, just everywhere. And then we get a yellow for Billy Vunipola, just the amalgamation of penalties for England. It was absolutely inevitable. And Scotland really would have wanted to have scored more points from that yellow. And indeed, in the first half in the game, Scotland probably should have and would have wanted to have scored more points. Anyway, it must be a try. I put on 28 minutes. Russell's crossfield kick was just slightly overcooked and bounced beyond, I think it was a Van der Merwe potentially. And Scotland's just all over England at this point. But they regather the kick straight away from an England clearance. They're just beating England everywhere. Buzz the ball to the left. Fagerson, a good play to Van der Merwe. Brushes off Daly like a child. I mean, Daly, his tackling's poor. If he has to go side to side, he's not good at making tackles. In fact, England, when they kick chase, there's no point chasing up quick if you're going to miss the tackle. You might as well slow down. And England were very poor in that situation, and Daly made a couple of poor tackles. He's not good at that cover tackling at all. Try Van der Merwe, 8-0. Actually, Scotland missed some kicks at goal here. They could have won by more, definitely, and you know, maybe even let England back in at times through some missed kicks and some poor kicks, actually. So maybe that's one slight downside to Scotland's performance, was the goal kicking, but probably the only one. On 32 minutes, England finally get some attacking play going. And actually, in this period here, these 5 minutes, England win 2 cheap penalties, and that's where they get their points from. They get 2 decent attacks, get penalties straight away, go 6-8. And you've got to think, well, if England actually managed to get some decent possession going, what could have happened? But they didn't, so you don't deserve it. Russell here nearly mucks up Scotland. Silly trip, just a ridiculous trip from Russell, who did a few not great things actually, some good things, some not great things. Gets the yellow, but actually Scotland play really well after that, and England can't get any more points. Huge penalty touch from England. I think Slade boots a huge one down there at the end of the half, but Scotland muck up the line out. Anyway, 6-8 at half time. Scotland were all over England really, and should have been up by more, to be honest. Like I said, Itoje for England was the only guy that looked good, but their huge penalty count was awful. They looked clunky, they looked slow side to side. Their front on hits were pretty strong and powerful, but they didn't look sharp. Scotland did. Like I said, Turner looked great, Redpath, Ferguson in that first half. So much quicker, so much sharper everywhere. Anyway, not much on the scoreboard though, so let's see. Second half starts at a really good pace, but again, 2 penalties in a row sees England are straight back in that yellow card trouble. You know, they're right on the edge, and they don't make, and England here, they don't make the most of Russell's yellow at all. And Scotland get a penalty. It goes 6-11, and you know that's how it's going to stay. But anyway, Scotland are still on top of the rest of this half. Daly, as I put there, misses tackles. Russell misses a poor kick at goal. And England just losing, even where they're good. The tactical kicking, Scotland are covering. The likes of Hogg is just hammering the ball back miles. So much better. They bring on Youngs on 55 minutes. Actually, I thought Youngs had done all right. And Robson starts with the worst box kick I've possibly ever seen in international history. He nearly misses the ball. And Scotland goes nowhere. Scotland get a penalty from it as well. Luckily, England turn over the maul. But I've said before about Robson, he looks nervous. When he comes on for England, he looks nervous. I think he's got a nerve problem there, if you like. You know, Randall certainly wouldn't have a nerve problem, I don't think, with his character. So I think Randall probably should come in, to be honest. Anyway, on to that later. Finally, on 61 minutes, England actually do something decent. They get a big scrum penalty where they properly push Scotland back. They get a 22 line out, and I put here they need to keep the ball. And on the first attack, they actually do a good attack. Lawrence gets into the play, does really well to get over the gain line, but England lose the ball straight away. Absolutely typical of this game. Can't keep the ball, England, not good enough. Farrell's kicking was awful. He loses 50 metres on one pathetic little stab through to straight to Hogg, I think, again. Farrell is so slow and clunky in attack. It's a bit painful to watch. And on 69 minutes, Ford comes on far too late. But the problem is they take Lawrence off. And sure, Lawrence hasn't got into the game, but everything he's done has been really good. Defence and attack. And they leave Farrell on, complete dead weight in midfield. You know, they've got to have the guts to be able to take off Farrell, even if he is the captain. Hogg goes to win the game with a long range penalty, but actually, you know, a bit of a slice, to be honest. Not the greatest kick. So it's still, you know, the converted try will still win the game. An unconverted try would draw the game. So really, Scotland's still probably a bit nervy here. They know they should have this game over. On 75 minutes, Johnny Gray holds up May. Great turnover. England's back three were poor. They made mistakes. They were lightweight. Watson was just completely ineffectual, has been for a while now. That's a bit of a problem. I mean, Daly's skills are decent. He was probably the best of the three, but compared to Van der Merwe, Hogg and Maitland, just pathetic, really. And Scotland's kicking force is another mistake, and they run the clock down. It is 11-6 to Scotland, and Scotland are just miles better. Like I said, Ferguson, Hogg, Gray. I could list all the players who were fantastic. I actually thought Russell was probably their weakest player, to be fair. Made a few mistakes, a few silly things. But apart from that, it was really good. Massive possession stat against England. Wow. I mean, They beat England at the scrum and the line out on aggregate. That's amazing. They beat them at kicking. They were sharper. It's just brilliant. They should absolutely pat themselves on the back for this performance. Sure, England was slow and clunky and rubbish, but Scotland were just great. So like I said, England looked very unmatched sharp, very slow, and the three Saracens that I thought were super slow, Farrell, Billy Vunipola, Jamie George, that layoff I think definitely left them looking flat to me. Farrell was a massive weak link, so slow in attack, just no threat whatsoever, and his goal kicking was fine, but then his tactical kicking was poor. I mean, if Ford or Marcus Smith had that team, you'd think they'd do a lot better, to be honest. It could be a problem if it continues. And Farrell's going to be playing in the Championship this year. He's not going to get a lot of game time. He's not going to be playing in the Premiership or Europe or anything like that, and it's a problem. And England at this stage don't look like winning anything. Maybe they might sneak past Italy on that form, and Itoje the only guy to come out looking decent. So, Scotland win, deserved to win. I'm glad they did win because they should have. They march on. England need to rethink. What changes do they make to their team? Do they stick with those guys and hope they get sharper? It's going to be a big call. I'll come back in the week with my selections for Scotland and England for the next game, but I want you guys to let me know what you thought of that game. Plenty to talk about, and I will catch you next time.